are all unique and have our own personal story. So dive in with me and let's get to know some extraordinary people. A lot of people have asked me, who's Jeff? Who's the guy we hear in the background? Well, this week I'm excited to formally introduce you to my brother Jeff, who is also my producer. Be prepared for some great laughs.
We should do like a commercial for LaCroix.
LaCroix, we should.
This episode is brought to you by LaCroix.
And Diet Pepsi.
LaCroix. And Diet Pepsi. No, well, it's probably by the same company.
I don't know. I think Pepsi's is Bubbly is the name. LaCroix, I don't know if they're
LaCroix?
associated or affiliated with
It's
any of
got to
them.
be. Watch, look at
You should do that.
Sundance Beverage. I don't know. Maybe it's not.
It might not be affiliated
Anyway,
with
LaCroix. Because I like the carbonation, but I can't drink soda anymore.
Yeah. It's probably a lot better for you.
Yeah, it's way better. This is how I always started my podcast. I just started talking.
Just talking?
I never told them that we were, like, we'd be like 5 minutes in the conversation. They'd be like, are we going to start? I'm like,
You're
yeah,
like, we've been going.
We've been going.
That's awesome.
It's going.
Is it going? Are we recording?
Yeah, we've been going since you sat down.
We are going. Okay, we are here with our producer, Jeffrey Lynn Hall.
Hi.
And I've had a lot of listeners say to me, you really need to introduce Jeff because you talk about Jeff a lot in the episodes. They hear you a little bit in the background.
Sure.
You contribute from time to time. So here is my opportunity to formally introduce my producer, Jeffrey Lynn Hall, and my brother, my older brother. Jeff and I have always been close since I was little. Remember that?
True. Yeah.
Good old days. Okay, Jeff, how do you feel being on as an official guest?
I've done several podcasts in my lifetime, but I've never been interviewed.
Really?
Never.
That is bizarre.
Yeah, so usually I'm the one driving the conversation.
Right.
So I'm going to let you take the driver's seat.
Take the reins?
We're going to do a dive-in, but a drive-in. You're driving this. You're driving it this time.
We're driving to the dive-in.
Because, we're driving the dive-in. I'm letting you take it wherever you want to go.
Okay.
And I'll be open and honest about pretty much anything.
Okay.
Even the size of my penis. If you asked, I would tell you how small it is.
Oh, geez.
Are you going to have to edit that out?
No.
Good.
Okay. Before I dive into my question.
I might edit that one out.
Before I dive into my question, I'm looking at your shirt right there, John Prine.
Yes, John Prine.
I will forever be grateful to you for introducing me to John Prine. One of the best concerts I've ever been to.
It was one of the best.
I did not even know who the dude was.
Yes, you did. You just didn't know you knew who he was, remember?
That is true.
Because halfway through the concert, he started singing Hello in There. Was it Hello in There?
Hello in There.
Yeah. And apparently, Bette Midler had covered that song, but you looked at me and you said all excitedly, he's playing a Bette Midler song. And I said, no, I think this is a John Prine song.
Oh, I'll tell you.
But she can sing it.
Oh, she can.
Oh, she can sing it.
Yeah.
I still like John Prine's version better because I like that. What I love about John Prine is that he doesn't give a damn about his he doesn't care if you like his voice or not because his voice sucks. His voice is not a good voice. Like classically, like same thing like with Willie Nelson
or Janis Joplin.
Janis Joplin.
She's one of my favorites, but her voice isn't beautiful.
But someone like Neil Young,
yeah,
Bob Dylan,
yeah,
they're not really good voices in the traditional sense, but they're for me the best type of voice. Mm-hmm. Like I love those voices because they own it.
Yeah,
and so he's always been about the storytelling. Mm-hmm. If you listen to every one of his songs, there's a full story there.
Love it. One of my favorite John Prine songs is "Glory of True Love."
Yeah,
one of my favorites.
Yeah, that was off of the Fair and Square album. That's how I got to know John Prine, by the way.
Through that album?
Well, what happened was he was playing that album on the show. They have a show called Austin City Limits. Mm-hmm. Have you heard of that show?
I have.
It's a show, but it's also a music festival. So they'll record some of the acts that come in there. And I saw String Cheese on there. That's not how I was introduced to String Cheese, but that's how I found out about it because I heard String Cheese was going to be on it. So I watched it. And I started watching it all the time. And then John Prine came on. And I was just blown away. I'm like, oh yeah, it was just like, for me, like there's a song by Simon and Garfunkel where they say the words of the prophets are written in the subway, and the walls in the subway, or on the tiles of the subway. You know what song I'm talking about?
Yes.
Sounds of Silence.
Sounds of Silence, yes.
And for me, I love that lyric because that's where, like, my prophets, like, that's sometimes it's like God talks to me through music. And it's usually, unfortunately, well, not unfortunately. As a kid, I used to hate country, but for some reason, it's country western singers like Willie Nelson, John Prine, now Sturgill Simpson, and this guy named and then everybody knows Chris Stapleton now because of his popularity with that NSYNC dude, Justin Timberlake.
Right.
So anyway, yeah, country western singers, songwriters are like prophets.
They say
it how it is.
What is the last thing you learned from one of the country songs you listened to? Or just one of the most valuable lessons or revelation you received through a country song? A recent.
I don't know if we want to go there, but we're diving in,
We're diving
right?
in, Jeff. We're going there.
Sturgill Simpson. So he does this album called A Sailor's Guide to Earth. So he does this metaphor about like a sailor and what you can learn about a sailor's life to help you in your life. But the very first song is, so the way I interpret it is, if you close your eyes and we can play the song. We can't play it for copyright reasons, but people should go listen to this song.
We'll link it on our website.
For sure. And so it starts off, and it's just like you hear this kind of noise. It sounds like a tunnel, like traffic. It's probably something, and it's actually probably a steamboat or something blowing its horn and like all this noise. Then all of a sudden, it kind of gets chaotic, and then all of a sudden it just stops, and there's this beautiful little, like, almost like a lullaby. Well, it is a lullaby, and that's when that baby's born. And the song is "Welcome to Earth," and it's a song that he wrote to his son.
Wow.
So, but that whole album, and not just that album, but Sturgill Simpson, I listened to almost every one of the songs. There's something in there that's profound.
And that speaks to you.
Yeah. That's very profound. But it's not, a lot of times country music gets a rap as being simplistic. You know, it's like, oh, you ran off with your dog.
Right.
Your wife ran off and left you without your dog and all this stuff.
Yeah.
But in reality, that's what life is. Life sucks. And so they sing about life sucking. But then there's this beauty and this hope within country that you don't find in a lot of the other music. Like that folky stuff.
Right. And it's just, country music is probably the best at storytelling.
Oh, 100%.
You know?
They're the best storytellers for the words and the lyrics that they sing. They tell a great story. For me, when I want to get into a place where the music helps me write my own story or think about things, jazz. Yeah, jazz. Jazz is like, a lot of people don't appreciate jazz. I didn't for a long time. Especially that stuff, the avant-garde weird stuff, the bebop stuff that's just like, it seems like it's just chaos. But for me, it's like when you go to a bar, and right when you walk into a bar, if there's house music or a band, you can't really hear, it's all muffled, but you hear this beat, and everything's to this beat. And there's a rhythm to the whole bar, even though over here you got a bunch of ladies that are complaining about their husband, and over here you got a dude that's depressed and he's drinking by himself, and then over here you got kids that are 19 that have fake IDs coming in and whispering, and all this stuff's happening at the same time to the same beat, and it's chaotic but beautiful.
There's some beauty to it.
Yeah, because there's a story everywhere. There's a story happening, but the stories for me are the stories that people hold. That's how you make a story. You go talk to people about stories, and then things emerge.
Would you say your story is a beautiful story, tragic story, a little bit of both?
I mean, depends on what stage you're on that story, right? Like, my story is not done until I die. So is my story going to be tragic, or is it going to be a comedy?
Do you feel up to this point, the chapters so far in your story, do you find a little bit of both?
Well, 100%. Because of a story, when you have a story, what's happening with the story is you have a goal that you're reaching for, right? You're working hard for. And there are moments where you feel like you're going to reach that goal. And the audience, when you're listening or watching the story, you feel, oh, they're getting close. And then the next scene, what happens? Conflict
Just
comes,
taints.
and then it takes them down. And then you're thinking they're not going to get it. So right now in my life, I'm actually in the center. Right? I just quit my job.
What job?
As a teacher. So I don't like to say quit. I resigned. I just resigned as a teacher. Okay, because quitting has a connotation that I just gave up on it. And I didn't give up. I just couldn't be the type of teacher that I needed to be in the system that I was teaching in. So I had to get out of it because I was rendered useless.
Do you mind sharing what you taught?
I taught, yeah, you're acting like it's something secret.
Well, for my listeners.
Oh, I get what you're saying. Yeah, you know what's funny? It's because I always told you. I remember we had a conversation a few weeks ago. I'm like, listen, Amy, you're not the audience of that conversation. You got to drive the conversation. The audience are the people listening. So you're right. Yes. I got, but this is good because
hey, listen,
we're having
folks,
a conversation.
We are having a conversation and I'm learning the whole trade of this, right?
Yeah.
But I want I want to be able to answer the questions from my audience because they're going to think, oh, what did he teach?
I taught. So
because he talks about how he couldn't be the teacher he wanted to be in this particular.
Yeah. So right now, I'm teaching podcasting, and you're my first student, right?
Right.
So you're my first student.
Yes, and I'll tell you, you've taught me a lot.
Yeah. Good.
I've had so much fun with it, but you have taught me a lot.
And the reason why I'm able to teach you podcasting is because I taught some students how to podcast.
Okay.
So I was a creative writing teacher. So my curriculum wasn't, all right, you're going to write this many short stories, and then we're going to move on to poems. You're going to write this many poems, and then we're going to move on to monologues or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
What I said is, so creative writing in the high school environment is a 1 semester class. And so I was teaching that, and the way it was happening was I was getting all these kids first semester, and they didn't know what to write about. And what I did is my approach to teaching was, I'm not going to tell them what they have to write. It's a creative writing class, so let them be creative. Let them write about their own experiences. But the problem is they didn't really know how to do that. They haven't been exposed to the arts, and they've been exposed to literature that's Shakespeare and To Kill a Mockingbird, and those are great, but those are dated.
Mm-hmm.
Those don't speak to the kids now, even though eventually it will. Once they look at the themes that are happening, they'll realize, oh, these are things that are happening now, but they're not going to be interested in reading Shakespeare if they don't understand it. So I'm teaching these freshmen Romeo and Juliet, which is hilarious because there's like sex joke after sex joke after sex joke. And I'm sitting there pausing and waiting for them to get it without saying a word. I'm like, come on, guys.
Taking them a while to process.
Yeah, but then I use sex jokes without me ever saying anything, but letting them come to it on their own, no pun intended. And then they would point it out, and then now they were paying attention, right? They're reading. So they haven't been exposed to literature like that because most English teachers suck. And I'm sorry. Hopefully, there's great ones.
Did you have a good English teacher in high school?
I had a great English teacher in high school, but we already have that documented. And if people want to hear that story, if you want to hear a story about my education, you can watch my YouTube video. We will put a link.
Yes, we will, because that is worth a watch.
Yeah.
Just his experience with his very own high school.
Yeah. So I teach kids they write what they want to write.
Well, and that's interesting because I feel like you just bring such a different dynamic to these students, and you want to just kind of come to their level and just make it. You're adjusting it for them. Essentially,
I don't even want to say coming down to their level or coming to their level. All I'm doing is just talking to them.
Yeah.
You know, one thing that I realize is that students aren't used to teachers talking to them as human beings. Mm-hmm. They talk to them as students,
and there's a difference there.
Oh, yeah, there's a big difference. I'm not going to talk to you as a role. Like I'm big on this idea of what is a role as a teacher, and what I tell my students is our roles are they're the exact same thing. You're going to teach me as much as I'm going to teach you, and I'm going to learn as much as you learn.
So as you started to talk to the students as individuals, as human beings, how did that impact your interaction with the students? Did you find that they started coming to you and talking to you as a human? Absolutely,
which is another reason why I left Westwood, because as I opened up to them and became vulnerable to them, that's how I taught, right? I'm going to be open. I'm going to show you guys what I want in life. For example, I want to be a stand-up comedian. And it's not easy to be a stand-up comedian. So I'm going to stand up in front of you guys and bomb. I'm going to tell jokes and they're going to suck. And you guys are going to rip me apart. And you're going to laugh at me and make fun of me. And I'm going to be okay with it.
And they did do that.
Yeah,
and you were
course.
totally fine with it.
We had a rule that when you walked into my classroom, if someone walked into the classroom, everyone had to roast them. So if a student or a teacher walked in, you had to make a joke about that person. And we talked about the lines of what was appropriate and not appropriate.
I was going to say, did you get a lot of hurt feelings?
At first, a lot of kids didn't want to do it. But as you went to the show that I did, that we referenced, we had a student that has speech impediment. She got up and recited 2 poems about her disability in front of 300 strangers, where this girl had a hard enough time talking in class with 20 students.
Right.
Okay. So yeah, there's an impact. And as I opened up to them, they would open up to me, which became problematic because when you're empathetic and you start to get to know these kids, then all of a sudden it's like, you're hearing about all their stresses and all the things that are happening in their lives, and there's nothing you can do about it.
And
so you have to leave them.
We're just not talking about simple things. You encountered a lot of heavy things, right?
Yeah, like,
and experiences with your kids.
We're talking about rape. I had a student that was raped and murdered and thrown in a dumpster. I had another student that told me about being raped by her father. You know, so those are heavy things, right?
Right.
And then you have to sometimes get involved with the law.
Absolutely.
Which now you these kids open up to you and they give you a trust and they tell you these things and they trust you. They finally find someone that trusts them. And then I have to go and say,
you have to report this to the authorities.
You have to report it.
And then you break those.
That breaks that bond.
That trust.
That trust is gone. And usually you never get it back. So they think you betrayed them. And all you ever did was love them. Then it's hard.
And it's hard for them to understand that.
So it just became heavy. So I'm like, yeah, I'll move to Higley. Bunch of rich kids. Parents can send them to counseling. You know, and that turned out to not be the right fit for me.
So was that just as hard, but maybe hard in a different way?
It was necessary. Right? Like one thing that I'm big on is the hero's journey. And there's a point in everyone's life where you're living in this ordinary world, but your ordinary world is going to change. Usually we make these changes when we don't want to make them, like someone dies or someone gets sick or you lose your job. How many of us leave that ordinary world because, hey, I want to go out and make a new career. I want to go out and make a difference. I want to go out and follow my dreams and passions. We don't do that. We don't do that. We only make changes when we have to. So crossing that threshold, that allowed me.
It takes a lot of courage to do that.
It takes courage and stupidity, right? Like you have to be stupid enough to think that you can do it, which is the only way you're ever going to be able to do it.
If you take the leap
that
and
you
try
believe that you can do something that is extraordinary and isn't normal, and the chances are you're going to fail at it because you're going to fail several times before you're successful.
Right.
So I looked at something that I wanted to pursue, which was comedy, and I never really pursued it. And I finally got to a point where I was able to, I guess, beat the system and learn how to be a performer without having to go to comedy clubs. So I was able to use my classroom and students to learn those pitfalls. But like I said, I had to be open and vulnerable and go up there and bomb and then have enough humility. I know that sounds like I'm sounding pompous now, but have enough humility to have teenage kids tell you that joke sucks. But maybe if you said it this way or you added this way, it might be funny. So now you have 30 kids helping you write jokes for a 1 hour and 30-minute show that you wrote.
And so did you take what they had to say and incorporate that
100%.
into your show? And do you feel
my classroom became a writer's room, which was something that has never been taught, I don't think, in high school. A writer's room means everyone brings their own thing, and then the rest of the class helps you build your individual thing.
Right.
So yeah, so of course I use that stuff. And by the way, I have my show that's coming up on February 22nd. That's not even a shameless plug.
No, we definitely want to promote that. The Jeff Hall Comedy Show.
Yeah.
Friday, February 22nd.
One of my students will be one of my guests. So one of the former students that performed at the Tempe Improv, that's now at ASU, he'll be there.
And I can speak from experience because I've heard him perform fantastic.
Yeah.
I was blown away at that show, Jeff.
Yeah.
Blown away at that show. So I'm very excited for this upcoming one. Okay, with your story.
Thank you, Scott.
Oh, shoot. Sorry.
That's a first.
Sorry. Okay, who or what is your story's antagonist?
Oh, it's a what. It's not a who. There's no one out to get me. Right?
Okay.
Now, in my mind, sometimes there's people out to get me. But that's a problem inside my head. So I would say for me, not being taken seriously, which is weird, right? I'm going now pursuing something that I want people to laugh at me. But for so many years, that was such a complex that no one took me seriously. So I didn't want people to laugh at me. So I live in this weird world where I don't want you to laugh at me. I'm being serious. Now laugh at me. You know, it's like Dr. Jekyll,
deep,
Mr. Hyde.
But down deep, you do want the people to laugh at you.
I want people to laugh at me when I want them to laugh at me. When I'm trying to be funny, laugh. When I'm being serious, shut up and listen to what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. I've seen that with you.
Yeah.
Well, just going back, I mean, obviously you're my older brother. I've known you my whole life. And looking back on my childhood and in our family dynamic, we come from a family of 7 kids. You were always the clown. You were the funny one. You were the one that brought the comic relief, not just to our immediate family, but the town. We grew up in a small little town, and everybody knew who Jeff Hall was because you were the comedian.
Well, I wasn't a comedian, though.
You were in your own right.
I was the clown and the jester, and I was the comic relief, meaning when there was tension and things got heated or people were upset, I could come in and lighten things up because I hated the darkness. I don't like anger. I don't like people being upset because I fight it all. That's me inside. I just have all this anger, and I try to get it out, and I don't want more coming in.
So this isn't, I mean, this is just your natural instinct, your natural reaction to situations.
That's my way of fighting the anger is through laughter, right? Mm-hmm. But when I'm talking about that stuff, and I get it now because of the way I present myself and the way I carry myself and the way I look, I'm just funny.
You are funny.
Yeah, I'm funny.
Funny looking dude.
But I'm not always trying to be funny. There's a lot of times that I'm very serious.
So you are sensitive.
Very
I mean,
sensitive.
this is a very sensitive topic.
Yeah, even the comedy stuff is sensitive because that's my way of processing the like you go to see a counselor or you know, I take medication too, but medication only helps me with my mood disorder. It doesn't help me with the creative and the not depression, but just the complexes that I've developed over the years. So
right.
I have other methods that help me get to that point to deal with it. Yeah. Which is called comedy.
Okay, I just have to bring this up.
Yeah.
Any sensitivities to being told that you look like Jack Black?
No.
Because
I mean, there were.
Really?
There have been. Yeah, I mean, I've got my own brand of comedy. I have my own brand of humor.
You do.
And it's not freaking Jack Black crap.
But you look just...
Of course I look just like him. And I hate it because people are expecting me to be funny. But the cool thing that I've learned now is I'm never going to give them Jack Black. You're going to get Jeff Hall.
But you're still going to get the laugh.
Which I think is equally as funny as Jack Black. I mean,
absolutely.
I'm not saying that. I think that Jack Black has developed his craft better because he's been doing it for so long. But I don't want to emulate him. I've got my own brand of comedy, and I think it's funny, and I've proved it. I've proven it actually several times.
Absolutely. Yeah. But the end result is the same. People are getting laughs from Jack
Yeah.
Black.
And I use
People
Jack
are going to
Black
get
now.
laughs from you.
I just substitute.
You can joke around about it now. So you've been able
Yeah.
to turn the sensitivity into a joke and kind of play it to your favor in a sense.
Yeah. For example, yesterday,
Let's hear it.
I had a substitute teach at a school. And so I show up, and there's a lot of tension because a student had just committed suicide on Friday.
That's heavy.
And everyone, I make a fool out of myself, first of all, because I'm walking up, everyone's wearing yellow. Not everyone, there's just a group of kids, like 4 kids wearing yellow. So I walk up to them, I go, hey, why didn't anybody give me the memo that it's Wear Yellow Day? And they're like, I don't know. I'm like, that would have been nice to know. And I walk off. And then I get in the classroom, and I did know that this girl had committed suicide, but I didn't know
that they were wearing yellow in her honor.
And then all of a sudden, I'm like, why is everybody wearing yellow? And they're like, oh, it's a memorial thing. I'm like, freaking idiot. Like, of course, I did that. But that was the precursor to the story I was going to tell you. So that was funny. Even though that's funny, right? For us, it's funny. For those 4 kids,
in the moment, no.
It probably wasn't funny. Hopefully it was. Hopefully that lightened it up. But anyway, there was this intensity and darkness and heaviness that was hovering, and I don't like that.
Yeah.
So I put up on the board, Señor Negro.
That is funny.
Which is Mr. Black. And then I crossed out Black, and then I put Hall. Which, in hindsight, some people could be sensitive about that being racism, right? I'm not black, I'm Hall. Whatever. I don't know. Maybe I thought that. But the thing is,
well, you have to be someone nowadays because you just really have to watch.
You have to be careful.
Say.
But luckily, I just went and 2 seconds later, after someone said, hey, Mr. Hall, Senor Hall, has anybody ever told you look like Jack Black? And I'm like, look, if I look just like the dude, yes, I've heard that several times. I've seen people take pictures of me at the restaurant and when I'm walking by. I hear Jack Black at least 100 times a day when I'm walking. So yes, I've heard it, but I can't just do that to them.
But
I want to say, yes, of course.
Hence the black on the chalkboard.
Yes, and then I point to the board and they go, oh, yeah. I'm like, yeah, I'm not racist, and that's how I begin the day. So with that right there, it
probably
alleviated
a little bit of
some
an
of the
icebreaker.
stress.
Yeah.
I had one girl say, "Can you just be my teacher for the rest of the day?"
Oh.
And so yeah, I mean, I use it to my advantage now. I mean, I've been trying to develop a show called the official biography of the Jack Black lookalike. And that would be the only time I ever mention Jack Black. Never, ever mention him again. Just be like, yeah, I get it. And I'm using it for my advantage now. You know what my goal is? Is to have Jack Black come on one of my shows.
I was just going to ask you that question.
Yeah, it's going to happen. You know why it's going to happen? Because I have connections to get there. And I'm going to do it.
Well, and I think you and Jack Black would be awesome. It would be hilarious.
Well, I thought it'd be funny if he played me and I played him.
Yeah, totally.
Like, and not try to impersonate each other.
Right.
I'm just going to play me playing you.
Yeah.
So I'm Jack Black at home with my wife, and this is how I think it is. And you're going to be Jack Black at Jeff Hall's house, and you're just going to play it how you would play it.
We need to make this happen.
Yeah. And it could be something could it happen? Yeah. I mean, honestly, let's say that your podcast got really, really popular and we got 1 million views and we could even do something, there's ways that we can do this.
Absolutely.
And I don't know.
I just feel like it's necessary, Jeff. I need to see you and Jack in the same room. I just need a picture of the two of you, quite frankly.
I don't take pictures of celebrities though.
That's good.
I won't.
I think they appreciate that.
I won't take a picture of a celebrity.
That's like my husband, David.
Or a selfie.
Yeah.
I'll do it like if you're on stage, I'll take a picture.
Absolutely.
If you were right here, I would never put my phone out and take a picture of you.
Reason behind that?
Because I get people taking pictures of me all the freaking time, and I hate it.
So you feel like a celebrity sometimes when you're out and about. Hey, I remember we went to Flancer's.
Yeah.
Little restaurant in downtown Gilbert. I remember. Do you remember that? Well, of course you remember that. That's a dumb
quit
question.
going to Flancer's.
Because every time we'd go with you, hey, it's Jack Black. Jack Black's here.
And they would always give me a free dessert. Like, keep the guy fat so he looks like Jack Black. Always gave me a free dessert.
Okay, so Jeff, going back to something you said with comedy, and you like to be laughed at, not
No.
laughed at. You like people
like to
to
make
laugh
people
at
laugh.
your jokes.
I like to make people laugh.
You like, you make. Okay, this is the best way to put it. You like to make people laugh. You don't like to be laughed at. Okay, and there's a fine line between the two. Okay, there's a difference. How do you juggle that? Because it sounds like that's something that you kind of struggle with. That have you found any mentors to help you get through those struggles?
Yeah. Every single stand-up comedian.
Okay.
I'm a student of stand-up. We're going to pause for just 1 second.
Right. Aren't you so grateful looking back? Aren't you grateful for our mom?
Yeah.
And our dad too. But I
Yeah.
think mom was mom
was
such a positive influence, and even just making dad a little more
mom was a
liberal.
great influence. Now, did she influence my comedy? No. She never influenced my comedy. But I'll tell you one thing, like where I loved mom more than anything is one time dad was pissing me off. And he was just giving it to me and grounding me and doing this and this and that and and I was just like, duh.
Did you deserve it?
Probably a little bit, but not as much. Like I never, like I know I was a rowdy kid, but I wasn't a bad kid.
Right. Just a lot of energy.
Yeah. So anyway, I listened to it and, he does, did you hear me? Yeah. Did you hear me? Yes, I heard you. Okay. You could get out of here. So I turned around the corner and this was where the kitchen was. And it was right around the corner was the laundry room. So I turn around and I go.
So he turns around and
like,
starts
beep,
flipping
beep,
him off.
Beep you. Beep, beep, beep you. And then I turn around and mom was doing laundry. And she just looked at me like this. And it was just like, I own you. I own you. I own you. And she never told dad, but she owned me. But then it was cool. Then that's when mom and I started playing Rummy Cube at night.
Yeah.
And we were hanging out with Ethan. We'd stay up, and mom would stay up until like 2 or 3 hours and just listen to me ramble on. And she would like join in. I remember when she told me that I could kiss a girl for the first time. It blew my mind.
What did she say? How did this conversation go? And how old were you?
I was probably like 14. And she goes, "So Jeff, have you kissed anybody yet?" And I was like, "What?" She goes, "Have you kissed anybody?" I can kiss people. She's like, "Yeah, why wouldn't you be able to?" I'm like, "I don't know. Like, I thought I wasn't allowed to." And she's like, "Yeah, of course you can kiss someone." And mom was the one that was calling me out. Dad wasn't there going, "Hey, son, come here. Let me teach you how to freaking score some chicks." Because mom was hot. Have you seen pictures of mom when she was a girl?
Yeah, our mom was smoking.
She was. She looked like Elizabeth Taylor.
Absolutely.
She was hot.
I encourage the listeners to go check out your episode page on the site, because we'll put some pictures of mom on there.
Yeah, we'll put some pictures. Like mom's
beautiful.
Hot. Sorry, mom. I'm not trying to be disrespectful.
No, you're not, and you're not being creepy.
No,
you're just saying mom was a very attractive woman.
But dad never taught me how to get girls. And I love dad.
Of course you do.
But here's dad. Like, I remember one time, dad picks me up from school. He's all excited. I'm like, "What's going on?" He's like, "I figured something out." I'm like, "What?" So we go down to the soccer field, and he stands in the middle of he stands as the goalie. And he's like, "All right, go stand over there." And he started doing scenarios with me. If the goalie's right here and you're coming from here, this is what you should do. So he was walking me through strategies on how to get past the goalie, because he saw that I had all this energy and I could get the ball, but I would just go and I didn't know what to do with it. It was the same thing with basketball. I would steal the ball and I would go down to the court and I would slam it up against the backboard and go flying back. And I'd be like, "Damn it." And I'd get so frustrated with myself. Why can't I make a damn layup? I did the hard part was stealing the ball. Everybody else just lays it up, but I get so excited. RK Udall called me the kamikaze. He called me kamikaze. He's like, "You just come down there and go crazy and hit the wall every time. It's like you want to commit suicide every time you get the ball." So anyway.
So dad just picks you up, takes you there.
So he taught me the strategy, and then all of a sudden I became a really good soccer player. Not only did I have the energy in that, but that was dad. Like he didn't do that often. Mm-hmm. The one time he did it, I mean, if he would have gone out there and taught me how to golf, or like got me lessons, I would have been a good player, because I was almost a scratch golfer just by myself, no lessons, just figuring it out on my own. So, you look at it, but then again, what's cool about that is it gave me all these creative outlets. I was never good at anything, but I was good at everything. Right? I wasn't great at anything, but
you weren't
good at everything.
Expert in one particular thing, but you were good at a lot of things.
The only thing that I was an expert in was comedy. And no one saw that as anything that could have been used for a career or to make me to set me up for success in life. It was always seen as a negative, not negative thing. For me, it was a negative thing, but then I was always in competition with teachers, okay, to keep the energy of the class. I would win, except for with Risa Udall. She kicked my ass.
That story actually always gets me.
Because you asked about one teacher and you were asking about Risa, but there's your answer. It took me probably about 15 minutes to get to I could have just answered with Risa. But that would have been boring.
No, I love it. These are great stories. Okay, do you remember a time Mom took you to a movie and you saw boobs?
Yes.
What movie was it? And how did you feel?
I was just telling the story just recently. Interesting. It was Doc Hollywood. So Mom and I go to this movie. And we're sitting there. And it was PG-13. And so Mom would take us to PG-13s, right? And so we're sitting there and I'm watching the movie. And it was a good movie. It wasn't that great. It was funny. Mom loved this movie. But all of a sudden, Mom reaches over and just starts holding my hands. And Mom wasn't a touchy person, right?
No.
Mom wasn't like a touchy person.
She wasn't.
She still isn't really.
Right.
I do it. I go and hold Mom's hand sometimes because I think that you need human touch. So I like to and I'm not comfortable with it either.
So you still do this as an adult?
Yeah, I go and hold Mom's hand now.
Oh, that's nice.
Not for long because it literally
makes you feel a little uncomfortable.
Yeah, just like I don't. So Mom reaches over and grabs my hand. I'm like, what the heck? And I'm uncomfortable just because Mom's...
How old are you?
14, 15. And then all of a sudden, this girl walks out of the lake and she's just topless. And at that age, you get a boner for just thinking about boobs. And seeing them, I mean, you're throbbing. This is like intensity, right? So this is happening while I'm holding Mom's hand. So I'm having this erotic experience and Mom's holding my hand and I'm just like, I want to watch. But I'm like, oh, I can't. And so I'm just going like this. And you got the popcorn. Like to this day, if I walk into a theater and I smell popcorn, I have this like sexual like zing for a second. Popcorn.
But it's interesting how certain scents
Yes.
can just trigger a memory or take you back to a certain time.
But Mom did that. Mom was so good. That timing, because she had seen the movie before.
Oh, I was going to ask. Had Mom seen the movie?
Yeah, Mom had seen it because Mom wanted. I bet my idea is that Dad probably had a stipulation that go watch these movies before our kids can go watch them, right? And so Mom had seen it, so she was prepared for it.
Oh, that's so funny.
So Mom was the one that taught me, like, those kind of lessons about, like, she knew that was going to happen. She wanted to embarrass me. Right?
Yes, that is so funny. But, going back to our childhood and movies. So when I talked to Davey about his upbringing and the movies that he would watch on repeat as a kid, a lot of it is like cartoons and like just dumb movies. Not dumb movies, but just very simple Princess Bride or things like that. Actually, I don't think that's one of Davey's, but it's a lot of my friends grew up watching those types of movies.
Yeah.
When I go back to my childhood, St. John's, Arizona, the movies I grew up watching, Dirty Dancing. I didn't even understand really what the plot was until I was in high school, or probably, high school.
But
I was watching that as a little girl, but I loved it. I was like,
Dirty
this awesome
what else?
dancing.
Trading Places.
Dirty Dancing, Trading Places with Dan Aykroyd.
Yeah. Eddie Murphy. But these were all the edited versions.
But these were
from
edited
Grandma's
versions. Yes,
collection.
recorded VHSs. Okay, Troop Beverly Hills. She's out of control. I mean, my childhood movies were not Princess Bride and I'm okay with that.
We did too. We had like Anne of Green Gables.
Anne of Green Gables, loved that one.
Black Velvet.
Oh yes, Black Velvet.
Was it Black Velvet or
Black Velvet?
No, was it called Black Velvet?
There was a Black Velvet.
That was Elizabeth Taylor.
Yes.
That she had the horse?
Yes.
That she was in love with the horse?
Yes.
And Mickey Rooney?
I do remember that.
So we
one.
watched some of those like Shirley Temple.
Yeah, and Wild Hearts Can't Be Broken about the blind horse jumper.
But Casablanca, Citizen Kane.
Citizen Kane. We watched a lot of good things.
I watched those as a kid and I was fascinated.
Here's the deal. And I'm not tooting my own horn here, but I am going to toot Mom and Dad's horn. Okay? Grew up in a small little town, St. John's, Arizona. You just spoke a little bit before about St. John's. Small little town.
Yeah.
Probably not the most cultured place, right? You're out in the middle of nowhere. But Mom and Dad brought a lot of culture into our home.
Well, actually, St. John's brought culture to St. John's, remember?
Yeah.
We had cool people. There was always cool performances that they would bring.
You're right.
At the auditorium. Once a month, you had like some group. And a lot of times it was BYU stuff.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Jeff.
But they did, so they, and there was like, music was a big deal. And we always had music programs. And
there were a lot of smart, and there still are, obviously, a lot of smart people from St. John's, from this little town. And a lot of very influential and well-known people have come out of this town, St. John's.
Yeah, Amy Hall and Jeff Hall.
There you go.
The podcasting duo.
But going back to Mom and Dad,
yeah.
I'm just grateful for the culture that they brought into our home.
Sure.
I was telling Davey, I remember on Sunday mornings, I remember always listening to classical music. Mm-hmm. Remember that on Dad's old
Dad would be doing
school?
the crossword puzzle.
Yeah, and there's
playing
Vivaldi,
he'd be playing
Beethoven.
a chess game with me.
Yes.
That Mom would be like sewing,
cross-stitching, or something.
We'd all just kind of be hanging out.
Yeah, and I remember a few times when we were a little older, a classical song would come on, and Dad would say, "Who is this?" And if we didn't know it was Beethoven or Mozart or this or that, come on, guys, you should know this, you know. But I just look back and laugh about those things. But I really am appreciative of the culture that they brought into our home.
Yeah, no, for sure. Like I'm collecting records now because I remember vividly, like those mornings, going and grabbing the Beatles albums, the Fleetwood Mac,
Creedence
Clearwater Revival, Janis Joplin, and there was one that had a picture of her nipple that I found, and like I knew it, and no one else knew that was there, but I found it. But like Janis Joplin became my favorite artist for a while. Let's listen to Janis Joplin, Dad. I'm gonna read the liner notes. You know.
Okay, poetry.
Yeah, I love poetry.
Talk to me about your love of poetry and how it began. Just your interest, how you were exposed to poetry in the first place.
Just because
this is funny.
This was Dad's form of punishment for me. Mm-hmm. Like when I was in trouble, he would make me memorize poetry. And then he would make me recite it in front of the whole family. I don't know if you remember those.
I do. I remember. Do you still have memorized some of the poems?
Oh, yeah. Some of them. Yeah, some of them. Like one, for example, that's totally inappropriate, and I'm going to say it anyway. It was A.E. Housman. And A.E. Housman was a comedic poet. So if you read any of his poems, he's hilarious. And he gets into all these characters. There's one called Alfred. Oh, what is it? Something Peach or something. I don't know. I'll have to look it up. But anyway, there's one poem he wrote, and Dad's the one that showed me this poem, and he suggested that. I read it and I thought it was funny. And Dad read it and he thought it was inappropriate but funny. And we had an assignment where we had to memorize a poem in 8th grade, and I'm like, all right, I'll do this poem. I like it. It's funny. So I get up in class and it goes. And so just imagine 8th grade. Mr. Jarvis is sitting in the back, and I'm like, when Adam, day by day, woke up in paradise, he used to always say, this is really nice, or very nice. But Eve, from scenes of bliss, transported him for life. The more I think of this, the more I beat my wife. And like, if I would have had a mic, I would have dropped the mic and walked off. You know, and everyone's just looking at me like,
what is Mr. Jarvis's reaction at this point?
He's like, that's not an A. Who wrote that poem? I said, A.E. Housman. He goes, that was not an A.E. Housman poem. I said, yes, it was. No, it wasn't. Totally inappropriate, you know, and because I started off soft and like, when Adam, day by day, and I got into this anger, and then that last line, it was just like, it was an emotional kind of a performance. You built it up, yeah. Well, yeah, and I think everyone was watching it was like, what was going on? And then all the boys started laughing because they got the joke, and it took a while for them to get the joke because they're probably sitting there going, what the hell is going on with Jeff? But I remember that being one of my first performances where I had the whole class watching me and being in total control, and then having the reaction with Mr. Jarvis. It felt so good because I beat him in his own game. Because the next day I brought back the book. Dad had all these awesome books. I'll take a picture of it. I'm gonna take a picture of it and put it on there. And I brought the book to school and I'm like, there it is. And he goes, still inappropriate.
Did he call Mom and Dad?
Well, yeah, I'm sure. I had a couple experiences with him once. We didn't like each other, obviously. And one time someone was doing another performance and they were making fun of me. And he had us video these, which was kind of cool. But it was my friend videoing, and they set it up where they were saying stuff to make me mad. So they had put the camera on me, and they're back there commenting. Every time something would come up, they would be like, yeah, Jeff, yeah. And I went like this. I went.
So you looked at the camera.
Well, I didn't know, and I didn't even know the camera was going. I just went like that. And then the next day, I get called into the principal's office. Dad's there, Mom's there. I'm like, what did I do this time? They're like, they played the video. I'm like, I didn't even see anything wrong with them. I'm like, yeah, did you see what they were saying about me? Like, why am I getting in trouble here? These guys were like they were trying to get a reaction out of me. They got the reaction they wanted, and I'm getting in trouble for it.
Did you really get in trouble from Mom and Dad after that?
Well, I think Mom laughed. But I did a lot of things in junior high. I was bad in junior high. I pulled a fire alarm when they put me in in-house detention once. That wasn't fun. I mean, it was funny, but it wasn't fun. And that's another thing I learned too early on. I was willing to not have fun to get funny.
To make people laugh.
It all goes back
to make. So you were willing to pay a price.
Oh yeah.
But you got the laughs.
I'm still willing to pay a price.
Well, can I tell you one of the first poems that I ever remember memorizing?
Yes, please do.
One of your poems.
Oh, which one?
I mean, this is probably when I was in middle school. 3rd, 4th, 5th grade. An original by Jeff Hall. I wish I was a penis with little tiny wings so I could fly around and piss on everything.
Yes. Yep. I did write that. And that's written in iambic meter, by the way.
Meter.
I actually changed it.
Memorizing that, and I just thought that was so funny because I was probably in 4th grade and just laughing. And look I'm a grown adult in my mid-30s, and I can't recite it without giggling.
Yeah, well, it's a great poem. I mean, it's a great poem.
Another one.
It catches you with "I wish I were a penis," which is just out of this stupid, and then you see why
with little tiny wings,
which tells you a lot about me. If you wrong me, I'm going to get you from where you don't even know where it's coming from. And you won't even know it's me. I'm just going to piss on your head. But I'm vengeful. I hate that about me. I fight it.
Oh, Jeff, another one is, what's that in your hair? Is that rice? Oh, wait, that's lice.
Those are bad. In fact, I did my first experience with podcasting was I did a podcast called The Terrible Poetry. I don't know if did you remember that?
I remember. This is when you were working for AH Plumbing back in those days?
It was about 10 years ago. Mm-hmm. One of the first podcasters, really. There weren't a lot of people out there doing it. And I remember I did 75 episodes, but I didn't realize that you didn't have to do them, or that you didn't have to do them every single day, because I did 75 days in a row.
Oh, wow.
And
that's dedication.
Yeah, it was hard. Yeah. So I've been trying to do, I don't write poetry anymore, though.
That's a shame, Jeff, because I think you should.
Well, I write country western songs.
Okay.
I do. I write country western lyrics but they suck because I'm trying so hard to be like
John Prine.
Yeah, but I'm trying so hard to tell a story, like a good story, instead of just let the audience fill in the beginning and the end. Just you don't need to tell the full story. Just give them a glimpse of the life. And
are these songs that you're writing, are these based on your life, or
course.
just strictly based on you?
Yeah,
and
most of them deal with religion.
Okay.
Right. So for me, religion, and that's when I was talking to you about country music being kind of like the place where I go to listen to God. Mm-hmm. that puts country music as a rival to religion, and I get more out of country than I do religion.
Do you belong to a religion, and do you go to church regularly?
Well, yeah, I'm Mormon.
Okay. I know that, but do my
I'm
listeners
Mormon.
know that?
I'm Mormon. I am. I'm sorry. Yeah, you're right. I wasn't saying that as this is my reaction to it because it's
so Mormon,
obviously it's something I'm not
with
comfortable.
a little m or a capital M?
That's funny. Oh golly, I forget that Scott's in here. So Scott's throwing all these inside jokes at me right now.
Don't give Scott credit for my question.
Well, there's no way you know that because that's a bit I
just kidding.
I'm working on a bit. At some point I want to do a show on religion. At some time I'm going to do a full hour comedy show just on religion. But I'm walking the line with it because I don't know how I do know how I feel about it.
But there's a lot of sensitivities.
Well,
religion brings a lot of sensitivity.
I have a lot of respect for my religion that I belong to, which is Mormons. I respect a lot of it, but there's a lot of it I don't. It's not that I don't respect it. I just don't. Doesn't work for me. So I don't have to follow that, and I just come to terms with that. Like I don't have to do. I can do what I want to do, and religion offers a lot of ways to have friends, but to become a friend. Right? And for a long time, I shut out. After Ethan killed himself, my best friend killed himself, 7 years ago, 8 years ago, 9 years ago, 8.5 years ago. Well, I closed off for a long time, but because of religion, I was able to open up. And it wasn't the religion itself. It was how how gospel should be, how Christ taught. Just take care of each other, love each other.
What was it that made you close up after Ethan's passing?
I mean,
you were just broken. It broke you.
Yeah. I don't know. I haven't processed it all. There's still parts of that I don't think I'll ever go back to. They died with Ethan.
Yeah.
And I'm fine with that. So there's a lot I don't know. I don't need to know.
Right.
I don't need to go down that path because I did that I was trying to go down that path and find a lot of answers. And the deeper I dug, the more unsettling it felt.
Right. So you and Ethan, best friends since the age of 2, roughly? Mm-hmm. So when you talk about, like I have my best friend, Maris, who I love dearly, and we became best friends in high school, and we're grown women now, and we don't see each other very often, but I still consider her a best friend.
Yeah.
Best friend. I think a lot of people have a best friend. When it comes to you and Ethan, I don't think best friend is the proper term to explain or just describe your guys' connection and your friendship. Yeah. That was just more of a brother.
Yeah,
I consider Ethan one of my brothers, essentially.
Yeah.
Like basically my 5th brother.
No, for sure.
When we go back and look at our home videos or even just a lot of family photos in our old albums, Ethan was always there. He was truly a part of our family. But with you guys, it was just such a tight connection and such a beautiful thing. Do you think of Ethan often?
No.
Do you do that?
Not often.
Is it because you're protecting yourself?
Yeah.
You're not letting yourself?
I had to let Ethan go. That makes sense?
Yeah.
And just have faith that one day I'll see him again.
Yeah.
So, because that's where I am.
Yeah.
Right?
And that's what you had to do.
Yeah. So for me, the only thing is if you look at my phone, it has Elise and then Ethan.
He's always in there still.
Yeah. And there's no phone number. It's just Elise, then Ethan. So he's there.
Yep.
But even if you click on it, it's empty. So it's just a reminder that, hey, yeah, of course, you're going to see him again.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it.
It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
And I just have to mention your daughter, Lucy, her middle name is Winters after Ethan.
And
that's a beautiful
From time to time, she asks me about him because of her name. Mm-hmm. So he'll always be a part of my life. I'm just not swimming in those waters.
Right.
I don't have anything to do with his family, like his wife and kids. Just because I'm struggling to deal with my own wife and kids. You know, so I kind of had like I don't do well emotionally with people because of a curse called empathy. So I don't let too many people into my life. So that's been kind of a good thing, actually. But you can't you can't close yourself off to the world.
Right. And
that's what I did, even to my own wife and kids, to an extent.
For how long would you say you closed yourself off?
Well, it wasn't like it was just slowly building, and then it kind of sped up exponentially for the last 6 months, maybe. But I'm good now, like quitting my job and going through a nervous breakdown.
Resigning from your job.
Oh yeah, resigning from my job, quitting the system, and resigning from teaching.
Right.
Ooh, I like that.
That was good.
Yeah, because I did quit, but I quit the system.
You quit the system.
I didn't quit the kids. I didn't quit the field of education. I mean, if you talk to me for more than 30 minutes, I'm going to bring up something about education.
Well, you're educating me on a daily basis, practically with this podcast.
That's how this whole side tangent went, by the way, to bring that all the way back to what I teach.
Yeah.
I teach people how to be creative. I'm teaching you how to be creative, right? You're learning a new method of creativity, that a tool you've always had but never honed it and never have done anything with it other than just, well, actually you did. Your job, I mean, got you to where you are, your charm. But charm's only part of it, right?
Right.
The art of interviewing and having a conversation and getting someone to be open and vulnerable.
Diving deep.
Yeah, diving deep. That's a skill that, you know, I mean, how many times have you had people, I've heard it several times when you bring someone in here, when they walk out, they say, I can't believe I opened up about all that.
Right.
Right? To me, that's the best compliment you can ever get. That means you did your job because they talked about something that wasn't rehearsed.
Very true. And when I have guests on here, when I invite them, they'll ask me, what can I do to prepare? Yeah. Do I need to come with anything? And I say, absolutely not. It's just an organic conversation. Yeah. But I have had so much fun with this. Yeah. It has been so much fun to be passionate about something like this. But I honestly owe it all to you and Davey, because Davey's the one that's always home putting the kids to bed and holding down the fort there. And he's just been such a support, but you're making it happen and you're teaching me and you're coaching me.
And you don't remember this, but I've been planting the seeds for you to do a podcast for a while.
I'm so grateful.
I mean, but the thing is you're the one that on your own came up with, I need to do this.
Right.
Right.
And that was because of my husband pushing me to find something.
But you had to do something.
Yes.
So, but you did it without having to, you're exactly the kind of person that I want to inspire. Someone that you didn't wait for tragedy to happen to do something different. Mm-hmm. Right?
Right.
Like we've talked about this, and I'm going to put you on the spot, but we had a conversation early on in this process where I said, what do you want out of this? And because we had, during Jamie, let's just tell the story. Jamie Levy, during her episode, Levy, sorry, we had that whole conversation.
Sorry, Jamie.
You showed up pissed off. I was pissed off. There was bad energy between you and me. You got after me. I got after you. We said some things that we both needed to hear. And at the end of it, towards the end of it, you said, well, Jeff, as soon as this isn't fun, I'm out. And I go, Amy, this is not fun. Of course, there's some fun things that are happening, but there's a lot of work that goes into this. And I'm putting a lot of time and energy into you. This isn't fun. So if you're going to get out when it's not fun, then get out now.
Yeah.
And I said, what do you want out of this podcast? And you said, well, I would like this to be my living.
Yes, that's so true. But I just want to make a point here. I came in, we were just in a bad space. It had nothing to do with Jamie. Jamie happened. Yeah. I know, but Jamie just happened to be the guest. Sure. And remember, we walked out and was like, after Jamie left, I was like, oh, I just don't know if I'm going to be able to publish this one. And she was the one I was so excited to get on to.
That was Elise, my wife's favorite episode. And I've heard
from several people how much they loved it. And then going back and listening to it. Yeah. And it took myself a while to go back and listen to hers because I was just so devastated. But I went back and listened and it was an awesome episode because of Jamie.
And that's our best editing job we've done too.
Yeah.
Because we had to cut out a lot of
we
stuff.
did cut out a lot of stuff just because a lot of reminiscing and
Yeah.
inside stories between our families and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
We are well into this podcast, and I have not even asked my question.
Dude,
Here's
doesn't
my
matter.
question for you, Jeff. You ready to
Yeah.
dive in again?
Yeah.
If you could host a group of 5 people over for dinner, who would you invite? Any 5 people.
I have to pick 5?
You have to pick 5 people, a group of people. I ask you this because I'm curious, number one, who you're going to pick. And I just have to put a plug out there for you. You're a fantastic cook.
Thank you.
A great chef, especially makes the best pizza.
You know what I've realized I've been doing the whole time? Sorry, just a little side note.
What's that?
I've been putting my chin down so you can't see my double chin, but I forgot I have a beard that covers it. So I don't know why I've been doing that the whole time. All right. Yes, I am. I don't like people to make compliments to me. So I cut
It's
you off,
hard-
and that was rude of me. I'm
That's
sorry.
okay. But you know what? I teach
Yes,
my
I like
kids
to make
that.
pizza.
I teach my kids that because I'm not good at this either. And I've learned to accept a compliment gracefully.
Yeah.
It's hard.
Let's try that
But
again.
at some point, you have to just say, thank you for the compliment.
Thank you. Thank you for
Wow,
that
you know?
compliment. Yes,
You're
try-
a fantastic cook.
Thank you.
But you make amazing pizzas.
Well, I'm still trying to perfect. Thank you. I'm still trying to perfect it.
Back
Still
to the
having
question.
problems with that dough.
That dough, huh?
Yeah.
You get to invite
5 people.
5 people over for a dinner party. You are hosting and you're cooking.
Yeah.
If you don't feel comfortable with 5, if you want to make it even just a smaller, more intimate group, like just Steve Martin or
Is it with Elise? Is Elise included?
yes, we'll say Elise is included. She's your wife. She's always
Okay.
included.
All right.
You and Elise.
Well, that changes because, like, honestly, Joe Rogan. I would like to talk to Joe Rogan because the guy, I think he's so smart and right on with most of what he says. Like, there's not much what he says that I don't agree with. So
Would you just like to have him?
I'd just like to talk to him.
Why don't you just
Well,
bring Joe in?
well, it'll be
get
Joe.
make a couple of pizzas. You come back into your studio. Anyone else you want to include to this party?
Steve Martin would be great. John Prine. Willie Nelson.
And your 5th.
Sturgill Simpson, probably.
Could you imagine a dinner party with those 5 individuals?
Yeah, but that would change. Like, if you asked me in a week from now, that would change. So
This is just
that's how I'm feeling right now. Bill Murray, even though he's controversial, I like to ask him about it at least.
yeah.
You know, because like here's the thing that pisses me off. People, celebrities, I feel sorry for celebrities, right? Any imperfection that they have or mistake that they make, they're judged by it.
Absolutely.
And it can ruin their career. But that would suck to live in that kind of scrutiny. That's why I like stand-up comedians, because they can say whatever they want.
And they can still make you laugh.
Yeah, and they get away with it.
Your favorite stand-up comedian?
Well, like actual stand-up comedian, a mix between, I'll give you 2.
Okay.
Jim Brewer and Mike Birbiglia.
I'm embarrassed to admit this. I don't know who those guys are.
Well.
So I need to go listen to some of their stand-up.
Mike Birbiglia is more my style. He's a storyteller. And then Jim Brewer is too. But Jim Brewer is like energy. I don't get so much energy. I'm fat man energy. Like, I can do a little bit more than Jim Gaffigan. Have you ever noticed when Jim Gaffigan, he puts a mic here and he puts his stool here where his water is, and that's his stage. Have you noticed
He
that?
stays right there.
He
Yeah.
doesn't move.
Yeah, that's
That
interesting.
dude doesn't move. I don't know why. Maybe I think it's probably a comfort
It's
thing.
probably, yeah.
Keeps him like feeling like the stage isn't that big for whatever reason. I don't know. I'd like to ask him about that. So, but yeah, I mean, there's so many. I mean, Eddie Murphy. Eddie Murphy's the one that taught me. Not taught me, but Eddie Murphy was the first vulgar comedian I ever listened to. And it was good at being 14 and talking about all those hormones, to have someone talking about it in a way where you're like, yeah, I
could
get
relate
it.
to it.
Yeah. Right? He was vulgar and crude, but
Saying
was
to you.
it was he was going from the perspective of a young man, not a perspective of a 41-year-old dude trying to raise you. conservative Mormon guy that has no idea what's going on at school and what we're learning and being exposed to. No one does. You know?
But you're getting these life lessons on the side from Eddie Murphy himself.
Yeah, absolutely. Comedians help me get through a lot of things in life. To this day. If I'm feeling sad or depressed, I'm going to go watch comedy because I'm going to connect with whatever they're saying. Usually it's going to be something that's irritating them and they're trying to get it out. Mm-hmm. And it depends on what kind of mood. All different types of comedians. The aggressive ones, sometimes I can't watch them because it just sends me
down.
Yeah, it brings me down. Sometimes I like that because I want to get it out. Anyway.
Well, we live in a turbulent world. A lot of ugliness, a lot of bitterness, but there's a lot of good too.
Absolutely.
And that comedy is a beautiful thing.
Right?
It is. It is a beautiful thing. We
need comedy. We've always needed it.
Absolutely.
I mean, think about it. We send entertainers, singers, and comedians to our troops, right? That's always Bob Hope.
Very true.
Would bring the good-looking women, actresses and actors, but he would always bring the comedians to just get people to laugh. I mean, they needed to laugh.
Bit. Yeah, we all do.
Yeah.
Well, Jeff, I have to tell you, I'm just grateful that I know you, and I'm more grateful that you're my brother and you're my family. And so I'm always guaranteed a great time and a laugh.
Oh, good.
This has been so much fun to dive in with you.
Yeah.
And so thank you so much for producing me.
How are you going to end this?
Oh, I'm going to end it by saying, Scott, we're done.
That was a great way to end it.